Hey, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show. I'm John. That's Jonathan. Beside him is Rob.
We're all here.
Wow.
We got no time to waste. We got like 55 things to talk about. So let's jump right into it, shall we? We're going to start off with this. You guys, of course, know that there's an Alien Earth show coming.
Yes, I do.
And the reviews are now out. And they're spectacular.
Okay, next topic.
Next topic. I looked at, like, last I checked, it was at 89%. But it wasn't just that, like, saying that it's good, right? Because a movie can be 95%, and that's just 95% of the critics saying, oh, it's good. But this is like folks over at Gizmodo are saying Alien Earth is better than we ever dreamed possible. And that's coming from Jermaine Lussier, who you guys, I've had on some of my shows before.
Yeah.
He's
legit.
great.
He's legit.
The last I checked had an 89%, and it's getting ratings like this. Consequence wrote, in terms of the depiction of its most terrifying creatures, this review could spoil details about them, but it's far more fun to figure out on your own exactly what some of these sci-fi horrors are and how exactly they'll end up killing you. What a great quote. I love that. Slant Magazine wrote, Noah Hawley's take on the franchise is disorienting, alienating, get it, and fascinating. Then a little bit more of an expanse from IO9 from Jermaine Lussier. An excellent show that is both worthy of the Alien franchise and also makes the entire thing immeasurably more interesting. The Alien franchise is better today than it was yesterday, thanks to Alien Earth. Grace Randolph wrote, an absolutely stunning show that plays like an 8-hour movie on par with the first two Alien movies. Noah Hawley has never been better, creating not just fantastic new characters, but aliens. Every single episode delivers, one of Hulu's best, a must-see. THN wrote, Alien Earth is a tonally authentic expansion of the beloved franchise that, despite having its own story to tell, never forgets its fan base. Alien fans, rest easy. Alien Earth looks to be an exceptional chapter in the franchise history. The Upcoming wrote, Hawley has created a refreshing addition to the franchise with this prequel series. It may not be as impactful as its inspirations, but there's nevertheless a solid Alien story here. Then we'll just end things up here with the TV Guide wrote, plenty of elements of this show are fun revisions on the classic, but Wendy's story is enough to make you wonder if science fiction will ever get a new gimmick. So anyway, overall, people seem to quite like Alien Earth. Now, listen, I think they announced, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they announced Alien Earth before Alien Romulus came out.
Yes.
And I had my doubts about it because, much like in Under the Predator franchise, you guys know for a long time I really felt, and I was right, the Alien and the Predator franchises were dead. Then came Prey. And that kind of resuscitated the Predator franchise, and it's gone on a bit of a roll since. Could they do the same thing with Alien Romulus? Well, then Alien Romulus comes out, and I thought it was a ball. I really enjoyed Alien Romulus. And then the previews for Alien Earth started coming out. I'm like, you know, Timothy Olyphant's in it. Since when does Timothy Olyphant not great? And I'm watching this stuff. I'm like, this looks really good. And guys, I think it's safe to say it. Both Predator and Aliens are back. They're back. And this looks great. I cannot wait to watch this thing. Rob, what are you taking away from some of the reviews we're hearing, and where's your anticipation level?
Well, my anticipation level for this is off the charts because Noah Hawley obviously he took the Fargo movie that the Coen brothers made, which is an iconic film, and turned it into a multiple season series. It's terrific.
It's one of my favorites.
Really, just unbelievable. And then he did something I never thought possible. He blew me away with an X-Men TV series with Legion. Now, which was, you know, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but the intellect behind what they were doing with Legion was pretty stunning.
Yeah.
So it was apparent to me that with Noah Hawley doing this, he must have had an idea that was worthy of making a TV series out of it. And once I saw where he was going, I think Alien to me is one of my favorite space horror, science fiction horror films ever. It's one of the most iconic genre films ever made. And after James Cameron's Aliens, the franchise has had a problem. It's been really difficult to do. Well, what Noah Hawley did was he took ideas that are contained in Alien, not just the xenomorph, but the idea that there was an expedition that was traveling through the universe specifically looking for life forms, not just the xenomorph, but apparently other life forms that we get to experience in the show.
Right.
to use them to weaponize or do bad things, or things that, and this unfortunately, this ship, it goes awry, the ship crashes to Earth, and these things have to be contained. And then they also are dealing with artificial intelligence and people's minds being put into android bodies, which is a long-term trope of science fiction, but it plays into things we already saw in the Alien, all the way back to Alien 1.
Yeah.
So to me, what it does is it pluses everything. You're not just figuring out, well, how can we have the xenomorph go on a rampage again? And Prometheus dealt with some really interesting ideas, but then the film didn't live up to its
No, I was not a fan of Prometheus.
Fizzled.
But
yeah.
so this, to me, it's all about ideas, and this truly looks like a great science fiction series that extrapolates upon what we've seen in the Alien, specifically the first film, in really interesting ways, and it looks like it was really thought through. Now, I'm not going to compare it directly to Andor, but having a creator like a Noah Hawley is kind of like what Tony Gilroy did with Star Wars.
Right.
Noah Hawley is taking a franchise that has been a little limited in its scope and is injecting very classical science fiction ideas into it and elevating the material.
By the way, if you want to live a little bit in sad, what could have been moments, lest we all forget, Noah Hawley, the creator of this show, right before Disney bought Fox, he had been announced to be developing a Doctor Doom movie. Remember that?
And Star Trek.
That's right. He was going to do a Star Trek thing. I'm a little more, I'm going to admit, I'm a little more focused on what his Doctor Doom movie could have been like.
But the thing is, he's a smart, intelligent creator that probably has a great literary background and really understands these concepts that he's grappling with, and he's proven himself time and time again.
Yeah.
Is this live now? When is it going?
Oh yeah. When is the
I thought it was
premiere?
August 21st, but let me check.
Yeah,
that.
it's not now. It's not out right now. So it's coming. So, but guys, question is for you.
August 12th.
August 12th. So in like a week.
Yeah.
What
Wow,
do
it's just
you
a horror
think
potpourri.
about these reviews we're getting for Alien Earth? They look fantastic. I'm so excited for it. The Alien franchise is back. What are your expectations like? Are you looking forward to it? Maybe you're not. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, the DCU is now off and running. Superman's out, and it's spectacular. Still think Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie.
Sure.
But I love this Superman movie. I think it's all types of wonderful. And they accomplished the mission. Go over great with the critics and go over great with the audience, and they did both. And now it's even profitable, so a little cherry on top for them. But as we cross this doorway now, going into the DCU, somebody asked me an interesting question the other day, and I thought we'd make a topic out of it. They asked me, what do you think are the main lessons James Gunn is bringing over with him when looking at the defunct DCEU? Let's call it what it is, the failed DCEU. I liked a lot of the stuff in that DCEU.
I did too.
But it did fail. Just because I like it doesn't mean I won't call it like it is. What are some of the lessons that took over? And I started to think about it, and I thought, you know what? This would make an interesting topic on the show. So I want to present to you, if you will, what I consider to be the 5 main lessons that I think James Gunn needs to glean from the things that went wrong with the DCEU as he's now launching and has just launched this DCU. All right, let's go over to the classroom for this. The first thing I'm going to suggest is an obvious one, a coherent singular vision. God bless AT&T Warner Brothers, which is different from this Warner Brothers, because this is back when AT&T used to own them. God bless them that they had this thing of, to us, the filmmakers are king and queen. Let them do whatever they want. That's great, unless you're making a shared cinematic universe that's supposed to have some idea of, consistency. That's supposed to have some idea about where it's going in general. That doesn't mean every movie has to interconnect, not at all. But if you're creating a shared cinematic universe, have some sort of a thing. And the reality is, AT&T Warner Brothers DC never had a creative head. They said this guy's kind of in charge, and then 3 weeks later, a different guy was in charge. Remember, for about 6 minutes, they said Ben Affleck was going to be the creative director.
When Man of Steel was made, it was Nolan and Zack Snyder together.
But Nolan was quickly didn't really have anything to do with it.
of course.
But that was the vision at first, right? And then, so they never really had it. They've already started out the right way by having, yes, Peter Safran there as a co-CEO, but bringing in James Gunn as your vision head, as the guy who's going to give creative freedom to everybody. We'll talk about that in a second, but maintaining a singular direction, a singular vision about what this new world is going to be. So that's one they've already done. All right. The second thing is this. Don't populate your world with characters. Build your world around your characters.
Billy, you got to change that. Bill.
Oh, Billy. Billy,
that looks
your
like
world. No, that's what
a
I'm
piece
going
of
with.
IKEA
I'm going with
furniture.
Billy.
It's a Swedish.
Build your world around characters. Look, I am a big fan of Batman versus Superman. I don't give a crap what anybody says. I have a lot of fun with that movie. Do I acknowledge its shortcomings? Absolutely, I do. But one of the criticisms that I've heard about it that I have to concede is that it never really felt like they thought that movie out, right? It just felt like they had this, we want this epic DC world where heroes battle monsters and blah. And it just kind of felt like they then just populated the movie with characters.
It's a collection of great scenes that don't hang together in a coherent narrative.
I won't disagree with that overall. For me, the great scene's still elevated enough that I had a good time with it,
I'm with
know what
you.
I mean?
The opening of that movie is one of my favorite things ever. Ever.
And the Nightcrawler intro at the beginning of X-Men 2. I think those are the two greatest openings to comic book movies ever. I mean, I love that Bruce looking at Super. That was so good.
It's so great.
But it did kind of feel like, okay, we've got this DCEU. Let's start throwing in characters. It never felt like they started with the characters and let the world build around them. Now, it looks like they're off to a good start with that with Superman, because that movie is all about the character and all about the characters they're doing. But they need to continue to do that as they move forward. When we get Supergirl, don't just have, hey, we want this big space epic out there, and let's drop in Lobo and let's drop in Supergirl. Let's populate it. No, build around them. Make them your core. Develop your stories from there. If they can do that, they're off to a good start, but will they continue on that strong start? That's going to be the question, and we'll see where they go from there. All right. The next thing up sounds like it's the antithesis of point one, but it's not. Give creative freedom within the vision. I don't think, look, if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a template, Kevin Feige is the most intrusive studio head there is. Everybody talks about studio interference. There's never been more studio interference than for Marvel, because Kevin Feige intimately has his hands in everything. But when you talk to a filmmaker like Ryan Coogler expressed it the way we always did, but he expressed it best. He said, the thing about working with Kev is that, he tells you where, like, the scope of the world, and he tells you exactly where things need to be and where things need to end off. And then he says, go crazy. Tell your story. Do what you want to do. But here's the parameters. The illustration I've always made with that, Rob, is I've always said Kevin Feige makes a sandbox and then says, get in that sandbox, go nuts. Do what you want to do in the sandbox. Just stay within the boundaries of the sandbox. And with Warner Brothers, the AT&T Warner Brothers and the DCEU, it just always felt like a free-for-all. And then, despite the fact it was a free-for-all, them saying, oh, the filmmakers are king, the studio would still come in and just meddle randomly without a creative vision. And it was suits rather than creatives.
David Ayer's Suicide Squad is the biggest example of that.
Yes.
What a, if you watch, I don't know if have you ever seen him on the John Barenthal, his podcast?
I did the pod. Yep.
Oh my God. That is so, he's scathing. And I just feel for him. I would just release the Ayer cut.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want the Ayer cut to be released. So there's that. All right. So again, they need to really focus on that, and they need to do that well. Next thing is this. Embrace a variety of tones and genres. Don't look, again, Man of Steel is my jam. I love Batman versus Superman. I love both versions of Justice League. You can't love both versions? Fuck you. Yes, I can. I love them both. So
You shouldn't.
but here's the thing. They tried to infuse a singular tone throughout everything. Shazam broke the mold a little bit. They had some divergence here and there, but just like our real world, right? I can talk to one friend and it can be the silliest, most ridiculous, whatever conversation, and then I can have a conversation with somebody about existential crises. Like, tones vary from moment to moment in our life. Genres of our life change from moment to moment. Your cinematic universes should be no different. Now, again, it looks like they're off to a good start. James Gunn has come out and said there is no single tone to the DCU. Every movie is going to be its own thing. We got a body horror coming with Clayface. Peacemaker is going to be very different from Superman. Lanterns is going to be very different from Supergirl. Now, it's one thing to say it. Can they embrace it and actually carry that out? That'll be key. Last thing is this, and this is one everybody will agree with. Quality over quantity. One of the things that they often were, fair or unfair, AT&T Warner Brothers was often accused, again, fair or unfair, of constantly trying to play catch up with Marvel. They were just trying to be where Marvel was without doing the things to get where Marvel was. And that clearly created issues, both in front of the camera and behind the camera and in the executive offices. James Gunn, again, it looks like they're off to a good start, but it's easy to say, it's harder to do. James Gunn has done the easy part and is saying the right things, right? He's saying, we are not going to announce a release date or officially announce any movie until we have a 100% completed script that we are absolutely happy and thrilled with. We're not going to do any of this stuff. It's only when we got something that we love. Okay, great. Again, Rob, easy to say. What happens when a couple of Warner Brothers board members give him a call and say, hey, we noticed, Supergirl overperformed. That's great. I think next year we'd like to have 2 or 3 of those. Is James Gunn going to be able to draw a line in the sand and say, listen, when I came on, you told me I could run it this way, whatever, or have one of my many AMC conversations, which was, hey, when you brought me on, you said I could do this. You don't want me to do it anymore. You fire me. Otherwise, keep the hell out of my face. Will he be able to do that? Because it's easy to say. It's another thing to do. So, Rob, the 5 things that I'm going to propose here that are the lessons James Gunn, and it sounds like he knows them in theory. Let's see if he can put it into practice. Needs to bring over from the failed DCEU is a coherent singular vision. We already know they're doing that. Don't populate your world with characters. Build your world around your characters. Give creative freedom within the vision. Embrace a variety of tones and genres, and quality over quantity. Rob, do any of these particulars stand out to you? And are there any other lessons you might add to that you think James Gunn should take away?
I think those are sound. But, to me, I really think about this. I think about the DC universe. What I like about it is the 3 Zack Snyder, call them Justice League, call them Superman movies, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and his version of Justice League. Love all those. I love Wonder Woman. I love James Wan's first Aquaman movie. And I like The Flash. So if you
so do I. By the way, I love the first Shazam. I really did.
Well, yeah, and I'm just going to say, but those core Justice League films, all of them, in 10 years, 20 years, I think people will look at them collectively and go, these are good films.
I'm not so sure. I hope you're right.
I mean, I think, but whereas Shazam 1 and 2, because Shazam was not part of that initial. Yeah, I like that initial the first Shazam didn't. Yeah. But the other movies didn't, and they just underperformed at the box office. Flash underperformed at the box office. Wonder Woman 2 underperformed at the box office. But the 3 Snyder Superman movies, I like them. I think they're very respectable. I own them all. I can watch them and enjoy them. The thing was, like you said, it had no coherent vision. And I think what's really interesting is there's this weird, Like, I don't think that James Gunn's Superman is in competition with anything else. They're starting from scratch and building something new. The economics are not to be compared to something that happened over 10 years ago. They've spent the money on 2 movies, The Peacemaker season 2, Lanterns, and however much development they've already spent on Clayface or whatever else they've made. So you have to look at the it's not about the box office grosses of Superman. It's about they've made probably over $1 billion monetary investment already into the entire new DC universe or DC studios. They're like, okay, this is how much we've invested. The real question is going to be, where are they at when James Gunn's contract comes to an end? In what, 2 years? They're going to look at, did we get what we needed from the Lanterns TV series? Did Peacemaker 2 perform? Was Superman or Supergirl a hit? And they're going to look at, okay, we spent, and that's what people don't understand. And all this box office rigmarole is annoying because you have to see where they're at after all this money that they've already spent. What's the ROI on that? So we'll see. We don't know. And we'll never really know, but it'll be interesting to look. And I think the thing that's most important about what you said is you have a singular vision and you have somebody that knows if a script is good or not.
Yeah.
And somebody that knows, okay, if this
it's not being determined by a boardroom of suits.
No, that are willing to cut bait at any time. And like with David Ayer, it's like, well, you don't like what you're doing, we're going to second guess you. And even though that movie made $750 million, it could have made more. They just made these willy-nilly decisions to save their own ass because they wanted to get their bonuses before the AT&T merger.
Who was the CEO of Warner Brothers when AT&T?
Sujihara.
So for those of you who forget this, like, this is a major thing. With whatever problem, again, I like both versions of Justice League, but I prefer the HBO one. But remember, they dropped that on Joss Whedon and said, and they gave him this laundry list of things, and they said, oh, by the way, it's got to be out by Christmas. Joss Whedon went back to them and said, I need to the summer. And they said, for me to put this together, I need till the summer.
Right.
And they said, Kevin Sujihara said, no, and as Deadline exclusively reported, the reason they said no was because Sujihara knew what was in the wind. He was going to be on his way out, and his bonus check for the year would only count the Justice League money if Justice League came out in that calendar year. And it's that type of interference that hopefully James Gunn, now that he is CEO of DC, won't have to put up with.
No, and we also know that the real sad part about it is that essentially Zack Snyder had a cut of the film. It wasn't done, his black and white cut that's on his computer. What it needed was they just didn't get to finish it. Because of the great tragedy in his life and what happened. They should have just finished that movie. They could have just done what they did with Zack Snyder's Justice League. He probably wouldn't have been able to release a 4-hour version, but he could have done something, and they could have just finished that vision. And who knows what would have happened, but they're like, nope, they second-guessed him. And it's interesting because Batman...
Well, to be fair, as a lover of Man of Steel, to be fair, they second-guessed him because the audience wasn't getting on board with it.
Well, but yeah, that's right. But still, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, it cost a lot of money.
Yeah, it did.
It's reportedly cost $450 million, and that's not even including marketing. It's that
okay, if you're including marketing.
Yeah,
okay,
you could include marketing. I don't know, but it didn't make even $900 million worldwide. And they were expecting this. The studio thought, we got Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman in a movie.
Billion and a half.
$1.5 billion. They were expecting those Avengers numbers, but they didn't do the work. So it was problematic. So it didn't do what the studio wanted to do. And that was a perception that they had because they thought they were going to get $1 billion. They were still looking for those bonuses from the AT&T merger. They thought, well, we've underperformed. They didn't want to have that. And, they blamed Zack Snyder more than anything else, and they shouldn't have. It wasn't fair to do that.
Here's where the big thing happened to me if you remember this, it was in between, then we need to move off this topic because we're falling behind.
Yeah.
After Batman versus Superman, and again, a Batman versus Superman movie should have had the potential to be a $2 billion film. But after it happened and it had some critical backlash and audience backlash and whatever, there was a real moment where Warner Brothers was going to just remove Zack Snyder from Justice League and change direction. Ultimately, it's what they should have done. Because instead what they did was they put him, what do they call it?
Well,
when
they'd
a
already
manager,
been shooting it, though.
Jonathan, what do they call it again when a manager's on his final year? Lame duck.
Oh yeah.
They basically put him in there knowing that they got him to do it, and yet they still interfered a lot and all that kind of stuff. It just would have been better, I think, for Zack Snyder, for everybody involved, had they actually just had the guts and pulled the plug on it. But they were just weeks away from starting to shoot, and they didn't want to invest the extra money that it would cost to retool.
And they also should have released the ultimate cut as the theatrical version. I think it would have done
The
better.
Batman vs. Superman? I don't know. I'm not so sure I believe that's a better version. I mean, the Justice League one, the HBO version, was the better version. I'm not so sure about the other one. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What advice would you give to James Gunn? What would you say to him were he to call you and say, hey, what can I learn from the DCEU with everything that happened there to make sure we are on the right path with the DCU? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, I mentioned on the show yesterday that while we've kind of addressed this, I've addressed this a number of times on the show, but I don't think I've ever actually done it as a pure topic. And I want to do it as a pure topic so that from now on, I actually have a video I can just give people a link to when they bring this up. And the question, of course, is the issue that comes up whenever anybody wants to talk about box office and then bring it into a historical perspective, which is adjusted for inflation. You see it everywhere. You see it everybody trying to talk about it, adjusted for inflation. And going all the way back to my movie blog days, before AMC, before Collider, before all of that, I've had people ask me, John, why don't you do adjustment for inflation? This is going back like 15 years. And I would always give the same answer, and I want to talk about it right now. Here's the reason I never bring inflation and why I believe it's an idiot's cause to bring inflation into box office discussion. Don't get me wrong. Inflation is an interesting data point. It is. When you got a box office master like a Dan Murrell who starts talking about inflation, he presents it as great, interesting data points. But what I'm saying is for the rest of the conversation that goes on amongst the internet, it's almost as if people feel like it makes some kind of point. Here's why you should never in box office discussions adjust for inflation. Number one, inflation assumes, it makes a radical assumption. Inflation discussions assumes that if a movie from a particular era or year was released today, then that movie would sell just as many tickets today as it did back in its era or year.
Yeah.
You have to understand this. The moment you say, well, that movie from 1978, adjusted for inflation, today it makes $1 billion. Well, wait a minute. You're assuming that if that movie from 1978 were released today, in today's economic environment, in today's industry environment, in today's social context, you're making the assumption that if you took that movie from 1978 and you put it out today, that movie would sell just as many tickets, only at today's dollar value, as it did in 1978. And that is idiotic. That's idiotic. That is an asinine assumption. I mean, let's just take a look at a couple of things. And there's like 40 things. Let's just take a look at a couple here. Number one, trying to compare it to 1978. Fewer people go to the movies today than they did before. There's no point in comparing it. Number two, ticket prices. We're going to look at this in a second, more in depth. Ticket prices were cheaper in previous eras, even when taking inflation into consideration, making it easier and more attractive for people to go to the theaters. There is more competition today from a much larger number of films being released. The advent of streaming. There was no such thing as streaming when that movie came out in 1985 or 1978. Other competition for disposable income like video games. Young adults, full adults, young parents, teenagers are spending a significant more chunk of their disposable income on that sort of entertainment rather than movies than they did in 1978. Also, movies today have much shorter theatrical runs than they did before. Well, John, let's put this into a practical example, okay? Whenever the conversation about movie inflation comes up, and you can take that down right now, Jonathan. The movie that everybody brings up. Well, you want to know what the real biggest movie of all time is? It's Gone with the Wind. You know why? Because Gone with the Wind, according to inflation, has made 4.5, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, has made $4.5 billion. I mean, double Avatar, right? Made $4.5 billion. But Gone with the Wind is also the ultimate example about why trying to bring up inflation in these discussions is absolute horseshit. Let's take a look at some facts about Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind had a theatrical run of almost 700 days. It ran from 1939 to 1941. Today, you're lucky if you get a 45-day theatrical window. That's your theatrical window today. Gone with the Wind got to be in theaters for nearly 700 days.
Also, it was re-released decade after decade after decade throughout the years. It didn't just have, that's its initial theatrical run, but movies were re-released all the time. We don't do that anymore.
Then, here's the other thing. The ticket price in a movie theater in 1940 was 25 cents. Adjusted for inflation, that's $5.47 in today's money. Understand this. Paring up the economic situation, that means going to a movie then was 3 times cheaper than going to a movie now. The cost of movie tickets has gone up faster than inflation has. Now, why do you say 3 times? Well, there's a bunch of different numbers out there, so I just went to Cinemark's site.
Right.
Cinemark itself says for their movie theaters, let's start, they say, with the basics. The average price of a movie ticket now in the US is $16.08. But that's just the average. In some places like New York City, you might pay over $23 for a single ticket. I know if you go to a premiere night on IMAX in AMC, it's a $25 ticket.
Because rent is in New York and that's what they have to pay.
So you might pay over $23 for a single ticket, while in Wyoming, it could be as low as $9.08. That's a huge difference. Movie ticket prices vary, blah, blah, blah.
There's also a lot less people in Wyoming.
Yeah, there's also a lot less people in Wyoming. So, okay. So by today's dollars, people only had to spend $5 for a movie ticket, whereas today they got to spend 16. Adjusted for inflation, again, the Guinness Book of World Records says Gone with the Wind made $4.5 billion. I have to ask this question. I love Gone with the Wind, by the way. It's one of the movies that made me fall in love with movies. So don't take this as some anti-Gone with the Wind thing. I love that movie. But here's a question. Is there anybody out there stupid enough to believe that if Gone with the Wind were just released in theaters today, with a 45-day window, with ticket prices being 3 times more expensive on par than it was before, does anybody believe that Gone with the Wind would make $4.5 billion at the box office were it released today? Obviously, nobody believes that. And if you don't believe that, then why are you bringing up inflation? If you do not believe that Gone with the Wind, if it were released today in theaters, would still make $4.5 billion, then and I gotta ask you, why are you bringing up inflation? Because clearly it doesn't mean anything. It's pointless. One other little data point I want to throw in here with Gone with the Wind. In 1941, when Gone with the Wind was still in theaters, only 1% of American homes had televisions. Less than 1%, actually. Less than 1% of American homes in 1941 actually had one of these telly boxes. You don't think that, forget streaming, I'm even just talking the 12, was it 12 channel dial? 12 or 13 channel, click, 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 put on
You're
channel
lucky
4.
if you had one channel.
Yeah, turn on channel 5 to watch Knight Rider. I mean, just that alone. There was no home viewing option. It was gather around the radio, kiddies, and listen to the murder mystery. Well, by the way, if you want to do that, True Noir.
True Noir, the
Go check out
assassination
True
of
Noir.
Anton Cermak. Available now, truenoir.co.
So again, 1% of home. Does anybody believe that if Gone with the Wind came out today, they would make $4.5 billion? I want to submit that if Gone with the Wind were to come out today, there's no way I can prove this. I'm just pulling this number out of my ass, but it's one I'm guessing. I'm betting that movie makes about $600 million.
Oh, no, because it would be protested for glorifying the antebellum South.
Well,
its flavors.
As cultures, we live and learn, but we live and learn as a culture and as a society. But I mean, that aside, I don't think that movie will be doing well if it made $600 million.
I don't even think it makes that. And if we were talking about like the same shooting style, like someone wanted to do an artsy throwback to 1930s film, oh, you're making like 12 million.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky. Now, I believe that as you close the gap, we're talking about 1941, but as you close the gap, some of the extreme differences become lessened, but they are there nonetheless. One of the things that people have been bringing up a lot with me lately is trying to compare this Superman to Man of Steel, for example. By the way, I prefer Man of Steel. It's my favorite Superman movie of all time. I am a bigger Man of Steel fan than you are, whoever you are.
Ha ha.
Unless your name is Zack Snyder, in which case, thank you for making Man of Steel. But here's the thing. It's not just these data points I put up before. Let me bring these ones up again. It's not just these data points. Fewer people going to the movies. Ticket prices cheaper. These are all true for when did Man of Steel come out? 2012, 13, 14, 15? Somewhere around there, right?
2011, 2013.
Ticket prices were cheaper
2013.
then. But here's the big cultural difference. When Man of Steel came out,
13.
it was a budding golden new era for comic book films. The general buzz and feel around comic book movies were at a near all-time high.
The year after Avengers had come out.
Avengers come out. Marvel had just had a couple of billion-dollar films. Everybody was loving this new genre. And by the way, when Man of Steel come out, it didn't have a dilapidated, broken down, fallen apart DCEU that it was trying to recover from.
It was coming off the Nolan trilogy.
It was
of
coming out.
Batman.
It had hope and optimism going for it. James Gunn's Superman, it's trying to dig itself out of the junk. It's literally trying to dig itself out of the shit pile that the DCEU created. And on top of that, at the same time, while the MCU is weaker than it's ever been. That's just another example about there's 40 or 50 or 60 different variables. So you try to bring up whatever. And by the way, if you want to bring up inflation for box office results, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to apply inflation to production costs too. But that's all besides the point.
Sure.
The basic premise goes back to that original submission. Inflation assumes that if a movie from a particular era of the year were released today, then that movie would sell just as many tickets today as it did back then. And I say that is obviously nonsense. Nobody believes that. And if you want to bring it down again to its base argument, does anybody out there believe that if Gone with the Wind were to come out today with modern context, other entertainment options, disposable income competition, theatrical windows, blah, 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 blah. Does anybody believe Gone with the Wind makes $4.5 billion? Nobody does. And if you don't believe that, if you don't believe Gone with the Wind would make $4.5 billion were it to come out in theaters today, then you confess that the inflation argument is totally pointless. It's an interesting data point, Rob.
Yeah.
It is an interesting data point, but ultimately meaningless.
But you also have to take into consideration the society itself that the movie is released
Sure,
into.
absolutely, which changes constantly.
Well, it changes constantly, and subject matter. There's a reason why Westerns fell from favor. It was played out as a genre, and it went away for a while. I mean, it Gone with the Wind came at a particular point in time, coming off the heels of, by the way, that was a huge, giant bestseller. So it was part of the national zeitgeist the way things aren't today. So that's part of it too.
Anyway, guys, we could ramble on with this, but we got to move on. Basic to say is when people ask me, John, why don't, since they've been asking me for the last 15 years, John, why don't you ever bring up adjusted for inflation in the box office? That's why I don't bring up adjusted for inflation, because it's absolutely pointless and meaningless. Anyway, guys, do me a favor. When the segment of this comes out, bookmark the URL. And whenever you see people asking, why doesn't John ever bring up inflation? Just share the URL of this video to them. And that way it'll make my life easier. Anyway, whatever you guys think about the whole thing, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there's a Heat 2 coming.
Whoa.
I read the book.
Michael Mann doing the sequel. And there's a couple of very interesting developments. Do you want the good news or the bad news, Rob? Tell me which is first.
I always take the bad news first.
Here comes the bad news. Michael Mann wants $200 million to make the movie.
Well, adjusted for inflation.
He wants $200 million to make the movie. And Pam Abdi and DeLuca over at Warner Brothers had said, hell no. We're not giving you $200 million to make this. You're not going to make this movie for the same budget as Superman. Not going to do it. No. Now, according to reports like this one in the playlist, Michael Mann reworked it a bit, came back to them with a $170 million budget. To which DeLuca and Abdi said, no, we want you to make this movie. We're not giving you that kind of a budget. We're not going to give you a budget that's going to require the movie to make $500 million to break even. We're not going to do that. Now, that's the bad news. And so apparently they're still in a budget fight. But Rob, here's the good news. Leonardo DiCaprio is interested in the film. And if anything's going to grease the wheels for DeLuca and Abdi, it might be adding Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't know who he's going to play, though.
So here's what they wrote over at the playlist. They said the following. Again, their headline, Heat 2, Leonardo DiCaprio reportedly circling Michael Mann action sequel. Budget is an issue for Warner Brothers. It writes this. After previous names like Adam Driver and Austin Butler were linked for Michael Mann's gestating Heat 2, a sequel to the landmark heist film from 1995, and based, by the way, that movie made under $200 million at the box office when it came out, but became a classic. And based on the recent prequel-sequel novel co-written by Meg Garner, another high-profile name has entered the fray, as Leonardo DiCaprio is reportedly now in the mix. A report from Puck goes over some behind-the-scenes issues with Warner Brothers, balking at the original $200 million budget, but has whittled that down to $170 million and still needs to get further down. Meanwhile, adding that DiCaprio is said to be interested after having early conversations for an undisclosed lead role. Anyway, Rob, I don't know anybody that's been more interested or excited for a Heat 2 than you. What do you make of both the good news and the bad news here?
Well, I think, look, and the novel is quite good. Michael Mann co-wrote that with Meg Gardner, like it says in the article. And it is both a prequel and a sequel. So you meet these characters in their younger days. And I heard that
kind of like Godfather 2.
Yeah, like Austin Butler was going to play the Chris Chehalis role, which was Val Kilmer's role. I don't care if Leonardo DiCaprio plays a lead. I don't care. You cannot justify a $200 million budget for this film. In 125, maybe.
Do aliens invade and they have to fight them off?
A $200 million budget. It's like, look, I understand that Scorsese made Killers of the Flower Moon for like $230 million.
Which they never should have
Never should have done. You've got to, if you're making a crime thriller on the streets of LA or wherever you're going to be, Chicago, New York, you just can't justify that kind of an expense. There's no way you can, look, it blows me away. As much as I love Blade Runner 2049, and I love Denis Villeneuve's work, and I love what he did with that. And that movie's staggering. It's a staggering achievement. I wouldn't have greenlit it.
No, neither would I.
$175 million movie based on a film that was essentially, I'm sorry, Blade Runner was a flop. It was a flop in 82 when it came out. It's become a beloved film in film circles, but nobody else knows that movie. People are like, Rob, what are you saying? It's our classic. We love it. We embrace it. It's one of our stone cold classics.
But it's a small percentage that understand that.
Yes. And then they greenlit this movie from a false. Now, Heat, I would greenlight a sequel to. but
Much
not for
more
$200 million.
Yeah, no.
People, because Heat is a movie that the general audiences know. You understand. Pete's got a great ass. Everybody knows that movie. And it's the kind of thing where you can't go wrong. Look, poor Kate Mandolini's, rest in peace. I used to go there all the time. But there's no way. There's no way a $200 million expense, unless, of course, you're Netflix and you don't care how much a movie costs.
Right.
The Gray Man, the Red Notice, whatever make it a Netflix movie. They'll give you the money. Michael Mann, you haven't soaked one of the streamers yet. You go to Netflix and they'll give you the cash. They'll be like, Keat 2, bring it on.
After the recent, why am I freezing on the brothers?
The Russo brothers.
The Russo brothers.
The Gray Man.
No, that Gray Man.
Oh, this Electric State.
The Electric State. After that, I don't know that they're going to hand out $200 million.
2 movies for $550 million between the Gray Man and the Electric State.
Yeah.
Like, that is not responsible filmmaking. You can't do that. You cannot sustain a business model like that. But you know what? If someone was going to give me $300 million to make a movie,
I'd take it and smile.
Yeah, I would. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
All right, guys, listen. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Heat 2 has got a good news, bad news thing. Good news, Leonardo DiCaprio is interested in it. Bad news is they can't come to an agreement on a budget. And I think the studio is right to kind of draw a line saying, no, we're not going to give you that kind of money to make a movie like this. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Listen, with that down, we still got like 4 other topics we got to talk about. We're going to talk about Ice Cube's new War of the Worlds movie.
Do we have to?
Dude.
Where does it land on the scale of great and all-time great? We're going to talk about that. Also, Eyes of Wakanda has launched the full series. We're going to give our quick review on that. KPop Demon Hunter. The success of this thing continues. They're now saying they're going to do sequels and, more importantly, a live-action adaptation of it. And James Gunn is shooting down some Teen Titans and the Batman 2 discussions and rumors. But listen, before we do all that, there's a number of other stories that we simply don't have time to discuss in depth, but we want to make sure you're caught up on everything. So we put together this little segment for you that we call the news feed. Check it out. First up, Sarah Michelle Gellar is back in full Slayer training mode. The actress has posted an Instagram video of her training with Ryan Kira Armstrong, the actress cast as the new Slayer in the upcoming Hulu reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Gellar, who will reprise her role as Buffy Summers, will be a mentor to Armstrong's new character. The reboot, which has received a pilot order, is being developed by Gellar and director Chloe Zhao. You might remember her as the Academy Award-winning director, and she also directed Marvel's The Eternals. Now, Sarah Michelle Gellar has stated that the new series will be lighter in tone than the final seasons of the original show, and that her dream is to bring back as many of the original cast members as possible, including those characters who have already died. Next up, Top Gun and Paramount may have just avoided a major legal headache. You see, there was a lawsuit filed in April of 2025 in the Southern District of New York. Sean Gray, who alleges his cousin brought him on, credited Top Gun Maverick screenwriter Eric Singer and director Joseph Kosinski in 2017, claims to have co-written substantial scenes from the film supported by time-stamped files and emails. Gray, however, lacked any kind of a work-made-for-hire agreement and is seeking a screenplay by credit in the movie. He wants profit participation in the movie and recognition in future marketing. Paramount Pictures obviously has moved to dismiss 2 of his 3 claims, labeling the suit quote-unquote completely without merit. So the thing is, in a recent development, U.S. District Judge Jed S. Rakoff denied Gray's request for a declaration of joint authorship, but allowed the remaining copyright infringement claim to proceed with a formal opinion letter to later follow. Now, what this basically means is the guy cannot get his name put in the credits. He cannot get a created by or written by credit. However, the door is still open for him to sue Paramount for copyright infringement, claiming he did at least participate. I'm not sure that's going to go anywhere either. We'll keep our eyes on this. Next up, you may have heard a few days ago, Amazon MGM Studios has officially tapped Stephen Knight, the guy who created Peaky Blinders and writer of such films as Eastern Promises, to pen the screenplay for the next James Bond movie, which will be directed by the great Denis Villeneuve, who of course directed the Dune films, and produced by Amy Pascal and David Heyman. Knight, who said that the opportunity had long been on his bucket list, aims to deliver a take on Bond that is, quote-unquote, same but different, describing it as better, stronger, and bolder. Now, this This creates a significant creative shift as the film marks the first Bond project not involving longtime collaborators Neil Purvis and Robert Wade and coming under Amazon MGM's full creative control. Now, you guys know as of right now, there has been no James Bond actor cast, but there are names like Tom Holland, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Cillian Murphy, and other favorites. Knight's script is expected to help define the tone and direction of the franchise's next chapter, currently slated for release around 2028. Next up, you're going to be able to get that new Lilo and Stitch movie on physical media sooner than maybe you thought. Disney's 2025 live-action CGI hybrid remake of Lilo and Stitch premiered in theaters on May 23rd after debuting at the El Capitan Theater, I love that theater, in Los Angeles on May 17th. Critically, it received mixed to positive reviews. I liked the film, but it wasn't nearly as good as the original, and achieved major commercial success, becoming the first US film of 2025 to pass the $1 billion mark worldwide. Now, as of July 22nd, the film became available for digital purchase and rental, typically around a steep $25 to $30 on platforms including Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango at home, though it is not yet streaming on Disney+. But physical formats like 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and DVD are scheduled for release on August 26, 2025, and by the way, a sequel is already in development. Next up, Temuera Morrison, best known for portraying Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones and later Boba Fett and various clones in The Mandalorian and the 2021 Disney Plus spin-off The Book of Boba Fett, recently told fans at a convention that there are no confirmed plans for his return to Star Wars, but he encouraged them to change that by contacting Lucasfilm directly. Standing on stage alongside Daniel Logan, who played young Boba Fett and has worked closely with Morrison, he urged fans, quote, "All of you need to send a fax," really? A fax? "Or a letter or an email to those powers that be at Lucasfilm. Please give Daniel Logan and Temuera Morrison another chance and put them somewhere." Logan then chimed in with a lighthearted observation that Morrison has played more Star Wars characters than anyone else and expressed confidence there will be future opportunities for Morrison in the franchise, especially when you consider that they've got series like Ahsoka and other projects still continuing on that happen after Return of the Jedi. I could totally see him coming back at some point, even though The Book of Boba Fett was completely terrible. Next up, Shelby Oaks, the debut feature film from YouTuber and film critic Chris Stuckman, has released its first trailer. The film, is being distributed by Neon, is a found footage horror mystery that follows a woman's obsessive search for her sister, Riley Brennan, a paranormal YouTuber who disappeared 12 years prior. The film was successfully crowdfunded on Kickstarter, raising nearly $1.4 million. The film is scheduled for a theatrical release on October 3rd. And finally, Greenland 2 Migration has set a release date of January 9th, 2026 from Lionsgate. The sequel to the 2020 post-apocalyptic survival film will see the return of Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin as the Garrity family. They say that the plot will follow the family as they are forced to leave their bunker in Greenland to travel across a quote-unquote shattered world in Europe in search of a new home years after the comet strike that decimated the Earth. The film's production was completed in May of 2025. And that'll do it for today's movie news feed. And that's your news feed for today, guys. Again, this is still kind of a relatively new thing that we brought back. Let us know if you guys find it useful or not useful. All right, guys, let's keep things going here, shall we? We're going to keep on with this. Ice Cube got a new movie on Amazon. War of the Worlds, a new iteration of the classic War of the Worlds. By the way, I got to say, I love Ice Cube. I love this dude. I mean, this was a day that I got to spend, I got to spend a whole afternoon with him. We were doing this special thing for 22 Jump Street, and we literally got to go down into Hollywood, and I got to spend the whole afternoon with him. He could not have been nicer and friendlier, and he was jovial and joking around the whole time. I just had a blast, and today I can't believe I got to hang out with the Kool-Aid Man. It was absolutely unbelievable. So I am a big fan of Ice Cube. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
So what you're saying, it wasn't a good day.
It was not. Yeah, today was not a good day.
Should have used his AK.
Should have brought my AK because, woo, this is a bad movie. Now, I thought when I took a peek on Rotten Tomatoes here, when I saw the 0% and 13% audience rating, I thought, come on, it can't be that bad. I watched this thing. Now, The premise, by the way, I'm going to spoil everything because I really don't want any of you to waste your time watching this. The premise is a neat idea. Take the events of War of the Worlds, but tell from a different perspective. The whole movie is told from webcam and phone cam perspectives. It's all told from computer screens and talking to each other over webcams and stuff like that. And, you know, Rob and I were talking before the show started saying, you know what? If I was in the pitch meeting for that and they gave me this kind of pitch, I would think there's potential there. There's potential there. But guys, this movie is so awful. The dialogue is terrible, like absolutely terrible. And the twists, oh my God. So Ice Cube is a high-level security data analyst figuring out all the bad guys. And he kind of watches he spies on Americans for the government, right? He even spies on his own kids. He taps into their computers. He hacks all their stuff. He knows everything they're doing all the time. He's got adult children where one's a teenager, one's an adult about to have a baby, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so the whole paradigm is, you know, the government spies on people. Okay. And as he's trying to track down this global hacker, like #1 on the FBI most wanted, who of course turns out to be his own teenage son. I did warn you I was going to spoil everything. Which is the first. Did they really do something that stupid? Yeah, that was the first one. And there are many of those moments in this movie. So, of course, the global #1 hacker in the world that's taking down all of course, it's Ice Cube's son, whatever. So, very quickly, the conceit of the movie about telling it from this perspective, while it sounds like it has potential, really, you learn very fast. This is agonizing to watch. It's absolutely agonizing to watch. There's this point where he starts talking to Eva Longoria, and she goes, I'm getting some weird weather patterns. And it's like some of the worst visuals I've ever seen. They're like talking about what's going on with these weird weather patterns. And of course, then the alien invasion. And guys, then it comes down to this. You know why the aliens come? I'll tell you why the aliens come.
The cheeseburgers?
That would have been better.
Oh.
It would have been better if somebody said an astronaut accidentally let a Burger King wrapper out of the window, out of the airlock of a ship, and it traveled across the cosmos, and aliens found it and thought, this is all kinds of delicious. Yeah. Let's go to Earth. That would have been a better plot device than what they came up with here. The idea is, my beloved Clark Gregg, you guys might remember him from the original Avengers. He's Agent Coulson. I love that dude. But he plays like the head of the national security, whatever. Turns out they've been secretly building the ultimate spy tool, like tool to spy on all Americans. It's called Goliath. And when they activate it, it's going to become the greatest depository of information and data. Data, they keep saying through this whole movie, is our #1 resource. Data, right? It's going to become the #1 thing of resource. But here's the catch. They've known about these aliens for like 70 years. And they know, I kid you not, that these aliens don't need our water. They don't need our exhaustive collection of the black-eyed peas. They don't need oranges or apples or venison or whatever. No. See, what Clark Gregg knows and the government secretly knows is that these aliens out there, they eat data. They eat data. Computer data.
It's good for cover-ups.
Yeah, that's what they eat. And so they warned Clark Gregg, you can't turn on Goliath because that'll be the biggest depository of data on the planet, and it's going to be like ringing the dinner bell.
For Godzilla. I mean, for...
What? You do, of course, know. Like, I literally had to pause the movie and have this conversation with myself. I said, self, correct me if I'm wrong, but is data not just a collection of zeros and ones on a computer?
If these aliens ever watch The Matrix...
Oh my God, their mouths would water.
Yeah.
What happens if you make a big data dump?
They do have data dumps when
That's
they eat it.
exactly what they do. It's their natural progression of digestion. You get data dump. And I said, so theoretically, if they're all could I not just literally type the phrase, the quick brown fox jumped over the fence, and literally copy and then write a program to say, paste that 25 trillion times? Is that not data? It's literally zeros and ones. But no. They specifically eat the zeros and ones that tells me about your Amazon buying habits. And they literally talk about, by the way, this whole movie is just a big Amazon commercial. Everything is about spying on people, what they're buying on Amazon. One of the main characters in the movie is an Amazon delivery driver who uses Amazon tools to do like that. It's just a big Amazon commercial, and the aliens eat data. And then they do what is the dumbest sci-fi trope ever, made popular, although it was around before that, made popular in the first Independence Day, which is, let's just write bad code into the data so when they eat the data, they get sick and die. They have data constipation and they can't data dump. And they die.
I could believe this.
You don't know the aliens' computer systems.
Yeah.
You have no idea if you're writing a virus that will actually interact with an alien computer system. But hey, that's all besides the point.
They don't speak our language anyway, so if you write ones and zeros and they correspond
They wouldn't
to a
know what
language,
it means. It's just ones and zeros.
Then why are they killing people if all they want is like digital data?
Well, because, Jonathan. So anyway. It like, and the performances are terrible. Like, I liked Ice Cube was actually doing. If Ice Cube was a high elite level computer analyst and hacker, this is what he would be. It is. So I had no complaints about it, but every other performance in it was just absolutely terrible. It's not joining my unholy trinity of Catwoman, Batman, and Battlefield Earth, or a Highlander 2, I mean, Catwoman and Battlefield Earth. It's not joining the unholy trinity, but it's on the list. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I was like so angry at myself for watching it. And then Anne comes in, she goes, let's go to dinner. I'm like, I have to watch the last 10 minutes. I just got to. This is historic stuff. I will always remember this day.
I feel like if I watch this movie, I shouldn't drive because I'd immediately have road rage for like no reason.
Oh my God. And then I'd want to consume data.
Yeah.
It's oh God. Anyway, Rob, did you bring yourself to watching this movie?
Dude, okay. When I was 5 years old, my first movie that I thought was my favorite movie, the greatest movie I'd ever seen, was Byron Haskin's 1953 War of the Worlds. It made me go back. It was a little tough to read, the H.G. Wells version, which takes place in Victorian England. Since then, I've watched War of the Worlds. It's one of my favorite things. I watched that Paramount miniseries or TV series that came out after Star Trek The Next Generation did. There's been multiple series. I love Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds concept album. I read Arkady and Boris Strugatsky's, the Russian science fiction writers. I read their sequel, The Second Invasion from Mars. I read Stephen Baxter's sequel to this book. I love War of the Worlds. I lasted about 10 minutes into this movie.
Oh, you didn't get past the first 10
Dude,
minutes.
and then I skipped through it just because I wanted to see what the tripods look like and see a little bit of the
Not
effect.
a bad design.
But they even kind of look, I mean, not a bad design. I kind of liked them, but they look more like something from, they look like more like the pods from Robotech, the Zentradi, whatever. I just didn't, I watched this and it was so disheartening to me. I didn't even, if I got to the point where the aliens ate data, I would have gone out and probably wept.
You would have done that when they revealed that the global hacker is actually Ice Cube's young teenage son.
Yeah, that's probably true too. I mean, why don't first of all, none of that makes any sense at all. Eating data.
Yeah.
Why don't they just get a quantum computer and just ask it to find the...
Somebody in the live chat says data tastes like chicken.
No, it's just, again, anybody who's ever wanting to read or make a science fiction novel or a science fiction TV series or Star Trek, read some science fiction. Just read some books. There's like 25 books you got to read. Just go read some of the classic canon, because the idea of eating data is something you probably smoked a couple of bowls with your friends. Like, yeah, dude, what if aliens wanted to come to Earth and eat all of our data? What would happen? I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How does that even work?
You know who wrote this? He hung out with a lot of nerds, but he wasn't listening. He wrote this.
No.
This is the kind of person that wrote
The
this
guy
script.
from Shrinking?
No, But I'm just saying,
Oh, you're not
from
saying
Revenge of the
literally
Nerds,
him.
the guy who is like, I know what nerds like.
Oh my God, you just about broke my heart.
Yeah.
No, not the guy from Shrinking.
No, he's full of talent, the actor.
Yes.
I'm just saying the character.
Is this like from Three's Company?
No, this is Revenge of the Nerds.
I know that, but I mean, God.
And then
this
he would
picture
no, but
was from
then
Three's
he was
Company?
in Married with Children.
Yeah.
But now he's awesome in Shrinking.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody's asked me, the Dark Knights in the live chat has asked me, John, what's worse, this or Morbius? Honestly, this.
This, come on.
Oh yeah.
There were at least flickering moments of Morbius that had some kind of cool stuff in it.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
bad as it was, this is worse than Morbius.
Well, you know, also that John Cho movie, Searching.
Searching, yeah.
That movie did this conceit really, really well. You know,
Yeah,
it's
the
like
whole framework, yep, it did.
And there's a lot of other films that have done this online thing. This didn't do a good job.
No, not a good movie. Anyway, guys, I think Rotten Tomatoes is being fairly generous with their 0. I think they should introduce negative scores. I really do, because War of the Worlds would be 1. Man, that hurts me to say because I want to cheer for Ice Cube so bad, but this movie's really terrible.
Go watch the original 1953 Byron Haskin version. It's
Or
great.
even go watch the Tom Cruise remake of it if you want. But anyway,
good
guys,
too.
whatever you thought
it's
about
good.
it, if you had a chance to see it, and I'm sorry if you did, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Staying on the topic of reviews, I watched something else yesterday.
Uh-oh.
As Disney Plus dropped the entire 4-episode season of Eyes of Wakanda, the animated Eyes of Wakanda, I was apprehensive about it. I didn't think it looked bad, but I was apprehensive about it. You know, I didn't really like what they did with Black Panther 2. Just
Shout out to Mark Bernardin. He's an executive producer on it, writer on it. Good for you,
As
dude.
much as I love the first Black Panther, I didn't really like Black Panther 2. And so I didn't really know how this one would go. And you know what? And I was kind of disturbed when I saw 4 half-hour episodes. That's your season? All right. But I sat down and watched it. And I'm going to say this. It's kind of uses what is becoming very quickly kind of a tired trope.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's kind of an anthology series, but wait, when you get near the end, they're all tied together. Like, just like the Predator Killer of Killers just did and what others have done before. Still, you know what, Rob? This was pretty good. I actually found myself enjoying this thing pretty much. It's, for those of you who don't know, and I'll try not to spoil much at all here, but it's basically tracking a history of the war dogs.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Right? A history of the war dogs and going back hundreds of years and then coming up to kind of modern day. And you know what? Each story I thought was interesting. I liked the characters. It felt very true to the Wakanda we've seen on screen before and the internal politics of Wakanda. And it ends with a single frame that sent chills down my spine. Although I was talking to Jonathan about it, I won't reveal it here. When you really think about it, kind of a dumb way they needed to end it. And maybe if we ever talk spoiler, I'll talk about it. It was a really stupid thing they did at the end, but we'll talk about that another time. But overall, Rob, I got to say, I really liked it. I particularly liked the one about Legends and Liars.
Yeah, yeah.
The one with Achilles and Odysseus.
Yeah, I didn't get. I watched the first. I just looked at the
Oh,
title.
you haven't gotten that far
No, I
yet.
watched.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it dropped, and I saw it was the last thing I did last night was I watched the first episode, Into the Lion's Den, which takes place BC. I thought it was. I really like. I mean, for me, I'm like, this is. I thought it was really interesting. I really like the animation. I like how it was done, and I'm like, this is compelling.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really compelling, and I didn't. I want to go back and watch the other 3 episodes. It was already like 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, so look, I like what they did with this. They could have gone in a number of different ways, but I mean, I liked having watched the first episode. I was like, I'm in. This is intriguing to me. It had thought behind it. I thought they really thought out what they're doing. I didn't realize that it's tied together because I haven't got there yet. But like, dude, I love Killer of Killers. So hearing you,
The
make
funny
that
thing
comparison,
is, I watched those. I was telling John, I was trying to catch up on stuff. So I watched this, and then I watched Killer of Killers for the first time.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh, so you watch
back-to-backs.
these back to back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta say,
Yes.
each
very much.
individual, unlike say What If, where every individual segment on What If was very hit and miss for
Very
me.
hit and miss.
They were like stories to tell a story. It wasn't like there was no.
Yeah, I never felt there was a purpose to it. Unlike that, every single one of the 4 segments of this had a different protagonist that kind of focused on a different individual.
Yeah.
And like, as you can tell from the poster of Eyes of Wakanda, there's even an appearance by the immortal Iron Fist in this, which was great.
I actually liked that China episode. The one that was really
I
good.
liked it too.
Yeah.
I still think the Odysseus one was my favorite, but that episode was great. The animation style was really wonderful.
Yeah, I thought so too.
The action was tremendous for an animated thing. I'd put it on the same level as the action in Killer of Killers. Again, groundbreaking? No. Does it have a couple of key flaws to it? Yes. Something that is kind of becoming a little bit of a tired trope, admittedly. But I think this is a win for them. For Marvel Animation. I enjoyed this, and right now it's holding a 92% critic rating, 73% on the popcorn meter for the audience rating. But yeah, man, I think this is good. I would recommend it. So yeah, Rob, you got to finish this one off. What did you like about the first one you saw?
Well, I just like the fact, first of all, you know, the premise itself going into Wakandan history, I didn't realize they were going to go back that far.
1260 BC is the first
1260 BC. I was like, that was very surprising to me. And I that's what I really enjoyed that, because, you know, one of the things I liked about both Black Panther and Wakanda Forever is this idea how long the country has been there and how it had parallel development to the rest of the world, and how they had to eventually keep it a secret because of the technology and because of the meteorite. And I thought it started really, really well. I mean, I just enjoyed the fact that this interested me. This was, you know what it is? It's authorship. They sat down and thought, what would be the way to approach an Eyes of Wakanda show? And the premise I thought was smart and intriguing. And the first episode, I was right in. I mean, just because how far back they went, I'm like, really? I thought that was great.
I do wish it was like 8 episodes, though. I don't know
I didn't
what's
realize,
the point if you're doing 4, but it's good. Guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see Eyes of Wakanda? I think it's a win. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has a few weaknesses and stuff like that for sure, but it never took away from my enjoyment of watching this thing. And I thought they do a really good job of laying lore. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there's a the most popular thing animated wise ever to go on Netflix. It's breaking all kinds of records. It's even broken tons of the live action records. It's breaking some of that Dwayne Johnson movie, Red Notice. Was it Red Notice?
Red One was a Christmas episode.
Yeah,
Christmas
Red One was the Christmas thing.
Yeah,
Red Notice was the Ryan Reynolds.
Right, that's the one.
Gal
Like,
Gadot.
that was their all-time #1 movie, and it's broken some of its records. Is that animated thing KPop Demon Hunter? Which, again, if you've heard us talk about this on the show before, I didn't like it. I don't like it. I got to admit, some of the music in it is pretty damn catchy. Like, so, as a matter of fact, one of the songs in it right now, I think there was a moment where on the Apple charts, every song on the soundtrack took up all like top 8 spots on the charts. It was crazy. This week alone, the UK #1 song in the UK charts is Golden from KPop Demon Hunter. And my wife loved it. I know a lot of people that love it. Again, not for me, and that's okay. But you cannot deny the success it's having. And now, according to reports, Netflix is recognizing that, and they're expanding KPop Demon Hunter to get sequels, expanded universe to include a live stage musical, but also a live action movie remake.
K-pop on ice.
K-pop on ice.
And you know, they announced that the three, I think it's these 3 characters, they're going to do a K-pop Demon Hunters American Eagle jeans ad.
Really?
No.
Oh God. I mean, I wouldn't. That sounds actually very believable.
Well,
right
I
now.
would do it. Now that I put it out into the zeitgeist, I'm
All right.
waiting.
This is what they wrote. They wrote this as the Huntrix. That's the name of the K-pop group, Huntrix, because they're demon hunters. You see.
Sure.
As the Huntrix sing in song "Golden," It's their moment, and they're only going up, up, up. The fictional girl group from Netflix's record-shattering animation KPop Demon Hunters will get more screen time, according to U.S. entertainment site The Wrap. Netflix is reporting planning to turn KPop Demon Hunters into a film trilogy with sequels on the way. The Wrap also said the streaming platform plans to expand the universe further, turning it into a franchise that includes a stage musical and a live-action remake. A short film to bridge content between the movies is also in the pipeline. All right. The main thing I'm interested in here is the idea of a live-action remake. Look, when you make something like this, and it gets this much popularity, and this is global, man. This thing is not just a big US hit, and it is a big hit in the US. It is global. I don't know why, but it is. And you have that kind of popularity, and it's driven by that kind of music. Again, I kind of think the music's kind of catchy. This is something you need to turn into a live action thing. And I shudder, Rob, and I think the people in Netflix must. How much money did they lose not putting this thing in theaters? How much money did Netflix lose out on by not putting this thing in theaters first? If you think it's big on Netflix right now, imagine if it had a theatrical release first. It's proven data, guys. It's not up for debate. It is proven data that when movies go in theaters first and then go on streaming, exponentially bigger. That's just a proven fact at this point. But I'm not saying this would have been $1 billion film necessarily. This movie would have made a hell of a lot of money. And you do this movie, again, I say this as somebody who's not a fan of the film. You do this live action, you cast the right girls in it, you do the visual effects style right. This could be a visually very appealing movie. You have the music that'll take over the world again. I think it's a damn good idea to turn. I say this as somebody who doesn't even like the movie. You have to turn this into a live action. You have to. You are just pissing money away if you don't. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this report. What's your takeaway from it?
I only hope we get a K-pop Demon Hunters on ice.
Well, that's what Jonathan said.
You know, that would be great. I hope he's right. But I think that, or they do a crossover movie with the Pitch Perfect crew. But no, I think that obviously K-pop and Asian culture has become the dominant or a dominant force in pop culture for young people. I mean, manga is huge. All this K-pop songs are huge. Lisa's Blackpink is huge in my heart. I think that this is a global phenom. Why not make it happen?
By the way, one of our users said something really interesting, like Ivy Zen in the live chat, and this is brilliant. What I don't get is why don't they just release a sing-along version in theaters? That would make a crazy amount of money. If Netflix were to just
That's a great idea.
Swallow their stupid pride, say, you know what? For 1 week, we're going to put sing-along versions like they did for Wicked in theaters across the world. They would sell out every screen imaginable.
That would be fantastic.
The amount of money they would make in 1 week is astronomical.
Well, look at just the Demon Hunters or the Demon Slayer, the Slayer movies that do well theatrically that are just put in. I mean, I think it's a great idea. It might happen. It seems like they're going to exploit this title to the nth degree, which is good. Look, you know what I like? I like when every generation gets something that uniquely belongs to them.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, that this whole thing is different. We've never seen this phenomenon before. K-pop Demon Hunters belongs to this time right now. And a whole generation of people is going to have something they can look back on in 20 years, one that Hollywood can remake again, because it'll be 20 years later and they'll need something to remake. So they've got something here. But I just like the fact that it's doing as well as it's doing. It's exciting. It's exciting that there's something new that people are flocking towards. And I would say, Hollywood, this is exactly the kind of thing you should take as a cue for finding new and exciting ideas. But now they're going to be like, well, we have to look to Korea for everything. But I don't know. Maybe you do.
I know my wife would probably buy 25 tickets to go see this. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? As this K-pop Demon Hunter, who again, it's not for me, but the success they've had is undeniable. How popular this thing is worldwide, crushing all types of records. And now they're talking about making a live action movie out of it. And I got to say, 100% they should. 100% they should. And I love our viewers' idea about they should be releasing this as sing-along versions in theaters. It would sell like crazy. Anyway, guys, whatever you think about all this, jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. I love when I see somebody says, John, you really disappointed me this segment. Look how much I cry about that. Because I woke up this morning specifically saying, boy, I hope I don't disappoint that person.
What were they expecting?
For him to love
I don't know
it.
that I
For him to love what
K-pop
he loves.
Demon Hunter. Sorry. Anyway,
I love Lisa from Blackpink.
I love Lamp.
I love Lamp. That's the great thing. I love Lamp. Anyway, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I told you we had a lot we had to cover here today. Let's move on to this. You know, there's been a lot of talk as the new DCU is now emerging. We've got Peacemaker Season 2 coming. We've got Lanterns coming, Supergirl's coming, Superman's now out in theaters, all that kind of stuff. There have been a lot of talk and reports going around recently about Teen Titans and about Batman 2. Like, you've probably seen the last couple of days a number of reports about what's going to be in them and what's going to be a part of them and all that kind of stuff. Well, apparently, James Gunn is shooting it all down. According to this, coming to us from the folks over at Games Radar writing, DC boss James Gunn shuts down the Batman 2 and Teen Titan rumors, saying everything you've heard is either a guess or made up.
Well, how would he know?
He says this. With some highly anticipated DC projects in the works, DC Studios co-head James Gunn is trying to stop rumors from spreading too far. While answering questions about the upcoming The Batman 2 and the Teen Titans live action movie, Gunn told fans not to believe everything they see online. He said this, quote, anything you've heard about the movie Teen Titans is made up or a guess. No one in the world knows anything about the concept for the story except 4 people, he wrote on Threads. Gunn said last week that the DCEU Teen Titans script doesn't even exist, as the project is not a priority for the new superhero franchise at the moment. In March of 2024, DC announced that Supergirl writer Anna Nogueira was writing the script, but has also been fully focused on Wonder Woman for a while. That means that, as Gunn said, nothing has been set in stone about Teen Titans, so all the rumors out there are probably false. In another message on Threads, after a fan asked if Hush will be part of Batman 2, because that's one of the reports that have been going around, Gunn repeated, again, everything you've heard is total guess or made up. So, with Teen Titans, not surprised that he would come out and say this. Because again, we know that the woman who's writing both scripts for that and Wonder Woman, they've said Wonder Woman is now their priority. They're prioritizing Wonder Woman. It's not officially announced because they don't do that until they have a finished, completed script that they're absolutely in love with. So she's not going to be writing that and Teen Titans at the same time. Again, I'm sure, as James Gunn said, they have some concepts, some ideas they have for it, but they actually haven't started the work of having that script written yet. They're focusing on Wonder Woman. Well, why not just hire somebody else to write the Teen Titans script? Because that's not how James Gunn does things.
Ooh.
It's not rush things out. It's we're going to do it when everything's going to be done in its time. And they're focusing on Wonder Woman, which is fine. So I just thought that was interesting because particularly in the last few days, Rob, I've been seeing a lot of wild reports and all this kind of stuff about this is going to be in Batman 2 and this is going to be in Teen Titans and confirmed. I love that word. Confirmed so-and-so is going to be in Teen Titans. So James Gunn coming out and said, listen, everything you're reading is completely made up. And Rob, you saw what James Gunn said. What do you take away from that? Are you disappointed to hear they're not further along with Teen Titans?
I mean, look, I don't believe anything till we've seen it in the trades. You know, because at least whether it's in Deadline or Variety or Hollywood Reporter or any of these lesser but still reputable outlets, there's no reason to get excited because people are always spouting off. Plus, there's sites that actively make stuff up just because to see if they can engagement farm. And I'm like, look, go to those 3 outlets. And James Gunn's he's still working on. I mean, they're editing Supergirl. They're finishing Peacemaker 2. They're doing Lanterns. They got plenty going on now. I mean, we'll know when when a Teen Titans movie gets announced, we'll know. It'll get announced. You know, he's like, what was...
we'll serve no wine before it's time.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Orson Welles, you know.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn apparently saying all that stuff you've probably been reading over the weekend, last few days about Teen Titans and Batman 2. Total nonsense. He's saying nobody actually knows anything. He's saying, who knows? Maybe he's playing a little bit coy, but I got a feeling he's not. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, a couple of my favorite movies of the past bunch of years has been the Spider-Verse movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. I love these. I think they are, with no apologies given, I think they are the single two best Spider-Man movies ever. All due respect to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which I love. John Watts' Spider-Man movies, love them all. These are the two best Spider-Man movies ever made. And one of the big popular characters, by the way, I also loved the India Spider-Man. I loved him. But one of the big standout characters from Across the Spider-Verse was Spider-Punk. And now, today, this morning, Deadline put out this report. Spider-Punk animated feature from Daniel Kaluuya, who, of course, did the voice of Spider-Punk, and Ajahn Singh in development at Sony. Goes on to write the following. Sony Pictures Animations is in early development on a Spider-Punk animated feature from co-writers Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, and Ajahn Singh. Primetime, Deadline has learned. Plot details are under wraps, and there are no other details in place at this time. The natural assumption, of course, is that Kaluuya will reprise his role of Spider-Punk, which he played in 2023's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and will reprise again in the upcoming Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. All right. Assumptions are dangerous things and can often be wrong, but let's lay down some assumptions. Something's going to happen in Beyond the Spider-Verse that sets up, at least opens a door for Spider-Punk to have his own movie after that, which is great. Another assumption I take from this, again, could be totally wrong, because you know what they say about assuming, makes an ass out of you and you, because it certainly doesn't of me, is that whatever the witch hex that has been on this franchise, that has absolutely refused to let it have any progress since Across the Spider-Verse came out. Because remember, we were supposed to have Beyond the Spider-Verse in theaters already. That they've got it figured out now. It feels like whatever the problems were, whatever the things that have held everything up and caused them so many delays and so many problems, it feels like them coming out and announcing another project tells me they've got those issues figured out. They've got their pipeline figured out. They've got their workflow figured out. And that's a good thing if that's the case. Listen, we're already getting a spinoff of Spider-Man Noir, live action nonetheless.
Live action.
With Nicolas Cage. I'm really looking forward to that. I really wouldn't mind at all seeing a Peter Porker and the Amazing Spider-Ham. I really, with John Mulaney back to do the voice, I'd watch that. I'd watch the hell out of it. But, and again, I would watch one of the one from India. I'd watch that one too. But right up there has got to be Spider-Punk. Man, this character was so great in that movie. Also, their Ben, what's Ben's last name? The clone Peter Parker, Ben. I can't remember. Oh, what's Ben's last name?
No.
Guys in the live chat, Ben Riley.
Ben Riley. Right.
The way Ben Riley was done in Across the Spider, I would totally watch a Ben Riley show too. But man, Spider-Punk has to be right up there for that. So, and you're getting the original guy who does the voice now developing. He's done a lot of stuff himself on a creative end. I love this news if they can actually bring it to fruition. We don't have to wait 6 years for it. Rob, you hear about this. What's your reaction to it?
Well, coming off of our K-pop Demon Hunters story, I bet I would like to hear some great music in this.
All
and
right.
lean into the musical element of it. I think it'd be, but the animation side, like, dude, this really excites me. I mean, I love this idea. I love the character. I think that the potential for what you could do, how both the Spider-Verse movies have pushed the style of animation. I love what they're doing. Like, can you imagine seeing an entire movie? I mean, maybe an entire movie would be too much, but that style, you could really do something great. This excites me. And I think that, again, it's going to depend on the script. I love the idea of what a soundtrack album for something like this could be. and I love the character. So I mean, this is exactly what Sony should have been doing in the first place. You know?
I mean, listen, and I think the other thing that this speaks to, and again, this might be a bit of a stretch at this point. It might be, but remember the other day we were talking about Kevin Feige was asked about, hey, when you're going to bring Miles Morales over? And Kevin Feige said, I've been told we need to keep our hands off. I think Sony has pivoted their once 5, 6, 7 years ago vision of having a live action shared Spider-Verse and is now maybe turning its attention to where it maybe should have been in the first place, to a shared Miles verse. You can have, because again, with Noir, with Penny Parker, with Gwen,
Spider-Gwen.
And all the variants from the Spider-Verse, you can have your own thriving cinematic animated universe, and they ain't ever going to let Marvel touch Miles.
Right.
At this point, this might be the first indication that they're going to start to play around with the idea of, can we go full blown with the animated side? Because
and live action. I mean, if Spider-Man Noir comes out well, they could sky's the limit. You know, and what's interesting is they could if they focus on these spider characters, they can maybe reinvent some of the villains that they've nerfed.
Yeah.
You know, you never know. And they should have done why you had all these spider villains without the spider people. You know, and they don't have to be villains necessarily that fight Peter Parker. I think it's really interesting. I think this is a really great move. It's really exciting, and it focuses on it solves their problem of having Spider-Men to be the focus of the story. You know, we'd watch a Spider-Gwen movie, but I mean, they never, in all these other Spider-Villain films, Spider-Man was absent, which always felt weird, like Craven, and it was bizarre, but this solves that problem. And it gives you so many different variations of Spider-Man, which we already love. They've already established the characters in universe.
I will say this, though. If you drop Spider-Man in Craven, it does not save that movie.
Well, no.
I'll say that.
I'm not saying that it
But
did.
in the universe itself.
But yeah, I'm talking about I mean.
All right, guys. The question is for you. What do you think about this? So we finally recently did actually get some real movement on Beyond the Spider-Verse, and it's now got a new release date. But it sounds like after that, they're working on giving us a Spider-Punk movie. I like not just that for its own sake, but I like what it could indicate about what the future of that whole cinematic animated universe could be. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, a long conversation. I told you this was going to be a long show, guys. We are finally through all of our main topics. It's now time for us to move on to the main part of our show, which is, of course, taking your comments and questions. At least as many as we can, because we've gone like a half hour over than we normally have. But in the meantime, we're going to bid adieu to Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always. Thanks for staying late. Appreciate it.
2 more shows until Weapons, John.
Dude, I'm so excited. I got my
excited.
tickets. By the way, you know what I'm doing right after this show? Gonna go see Fantastic Four again.
Nice.
And I got our tickets. All right, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Right. We got Dan V, who says, an underreported story is that China post-COVID is a lost market for superhero films. In 2018, Venom made $269 million and Aquaman was $291. No Way Home made 17 in Hong Kong. JW Rebirth has made $75 million and Dominion made $157 million. Huge impact. It's a big drop in those.
Yeah. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't care much about China's box office reporting because I don't believe they're ever honest. That's my belief. Again, China is the one country that does not submit its data for third-party arbitration and review.
They're saving it for aliens to eat.
They're saving it. Rob said they're saving it for aliens to eat. And that's why, like, there's this animated Chinese film. I can't remember the name of it. Nizao, something like that. And people go, John, that movie made over $2 billion. Why aren't you talking about it? Because I believe if you actually believe that movie made $2 billion when it hasn't made crap anywhere in the world, I don't know what to tell you. I think, I've for a very, very, very long time, for years, this goes all the way back to, I remember being at Collider Movie Talk when this issue came up. I do not believe or trust China's own unverified and unvetted reporting of China's box office. I just don't believe them. They're the one country that doesn't submit and go through the actual process that every other country does through a third-party vetter. And they don't do it. So I just don't believe. So you can believe if you want that Nizam made $2 billion. You can believe that if you want. Good on you. I do not. Because I look at the response it's gotten from every other country in the world, and it's minimal at best. So yeah, it stretches out also to their reporting on North American movies. I just don't know that I believe their reporting. I'm not telling you what to believe by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not saying anything is definitive. I'm just saying from the stuff I look at and the information that we have and the circumstances where they are, I just don't believe them. I just don't trust them. That's just me. All right. What's next?
Just curious says, hey, John, saw you were, let's see. Oh, wait, I missed one. Mustang Racer says, hi, John. My wife and I took a weekend trip to the MS Gulf Coast. We did a double feature of The Naked Gun and Fantastic Four. Enjoyed both despite price increases. Movies are still the best value for your entertainment dollar. Lots of good ones to see.
Yeah, I don't know what the MS Gulf Coast is.
I'm not sure either.
But, I mean, look, and as much as we all, and I include myself in this, bellyache and moan and bitch and complain about the price of going to the movies.
Oh, Mississippi.
Oh, okay. The reality is, it is still the most economical date night you can possibly do, other than go for a walk in the park. But if you're actually going to go out and do anything, Chris Rock was talking about this. We quote him all the time. It is still like the most economical thing you can do. It's much cheaper than going to the bar. It's much cheaper than going where, we whine and complain a lot. I do too. And for good reason. Things are overpriced, but even with them still being overpriced, it's still like the most economical thing you can do. All right. What's next?
Just curious says, hey, John, saw you were listening to Project Hail Mary. How are you liking it so far? I love the book and the narrator, Ray Porter, Darkseid from Justice League, does such a good job. I think it's one of the best sci-fi books out there.
I'm approaching halfway through and I'm loving it. Like capital L, loving it. I can't believe how good it is. I'm liking it more so far than The Martian. Which is his other work, Andy Weir's other work. So far, amazing. Probably going to take me another week to get through the rest, but so far, I'm having a great time with it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, have you seen the trailer for Chris Stuckman's directorial debut, Shelby Oaks? It dropped today.
Yeah, we talked about it in the movie news feed. I did have a chance to check it out. Look, I'll say this. I'm incredibly proud of Chris. I've done some stuff with Chris before. I'm incredibly proud of him. Like the guy is epitomizing what I always talk about. Don't just talk about what you want to do something about it. And, he did something about it, man. They got together like $1.4 million to make a movie. And I think that's amazing. And I'm going to be cheering for him. And I hope for the best for the film. I haven't seen it yet myself, but I'm hoping for the best for it. All right, what's next?
Reactor leak. Hey all. So I'm looking at Box Office Mojo, and maybe you guys can help me. Am I missing something, or did Man of Steel open in a lot more international markets? I'm wondering if that's part of the reason Superman 2025 is having a problem with their numbers. Thoughts?
Well, I'd have to go and look at the data. I don't know. You can find on Box Office Mojo, if you know where to dig down, you can find how many markets it opened in and how long it was in different markets and all that kind of stuff. I do know, though, and we talked about this just before Superman. You guys remember, we talked about this just before Superman opened, is that we had some questions about, with Superman being so identified with America and America's reputation not being so great in the world right now. I don't care what anybody on whichever side of the political spectrum can acknowledge that. It's for good or for ill. America doesn't have the best reputation amongst its neighbors right now. That was probably going to hurt it a bit. And listen, it's still approaching $300 million at the international box office. But yeah, I thought that was always going to be a little bit of a problem. It's been a little bit of, not a major thing, but it's been a little bit of a problem. All right, what's next?
We got Don who says, John, I get your guys' thoughts on Henry Cavill playing Jason Blood, Etrigan, and DCU. I think that that role would be perfect for him. He'd play a great Jason Blood, and he could stretch his acting chops playing Etrigan. Thanks.
Here's the problem, Dom. He's only perfect for it for the way you're writing it in your head. That's the thing, right? This is what always comes up with X actor and X role. He would be perfect for the version of it you're creating in your head. You know, we talk about Batman and Joker a lot. Let's just take Joker. We've gotten many Jokers, and all of them have been distinctly Joker, but they all have been very different from each other. Very different from each other. Like Jack's Joker, forget the Heath's age, but you can say, Heath Ledger would make a great Joker. He would not have been a good fit for that Joker. But he was great for Christopher Nolan's Joker. But Christopher Nolan's Joker was different than Cesar Romero's Joker. And Cesar Romero's Joker was different than Jared Leto's Joker. And Jared Leto's Joker was different than Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. And Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was different from Mark Hamill's Joker. And on and on and on and on. So you can say, this actor would be perfect for this role. No, because you have no idea what that character would be depending on the hands of the screenwriter that he's in. You're just saying what we're really saying, and we all do this. I'm included in this, by the way. We all do this. What you're really saying is that you've made up a version of the character in your head that would be perfect for Henry Cavill to play. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the version that gets written into a screenplay. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Steph, John, now that you've seen Fantastic Four, what do you think is the best comic book movie this year? I'm surprised my friends when I told them I thought Thunderbolts was the best movie this year instead of Superman or Fantastic Four.
Here's the problem. I got to sit with Fantastic Four and Superman a little bit longer. Like for me, before I try to place these movies in any kind of lists, I need to sit with them for a while and marinate on them. Thunderbolts is going to be hard to beat. I love that movie. I think Thunderbolts is absolutely wonderful. I think Fantastic Four is wonderful. I think Superman is wonderful. If I had to give an answer right now, I would probably say Thunderbolts. In a month or so, that may change to Superman. But then again, I'm going to go see Fantastic Four this afternoon for the 3rd time. And maybe I'm going to go, you know what? No, so I'm not even sure yet. I'm really not sure yet. All right, what's next?
DBZ now says, update actuals for Fantastic Four came out lower at 67.1% drop. That's devastating.
It's 1% difference from yesterday. It's really no different than it was from yesterday. All right, what's next?
The problem is it doesn't have the international support.
Yeah.
Benji the Husky, a few friends who are casual MCU fans told me they were waiting for F4 to release on Disney Plus before they watched. How much do you think of the second weekend drop off is due to Disney conditioning casual audience to watch on Disney Plus despite it having a high Rotten Tomatoes?
It's not just Disney.
Yes.
I've been saying this for a couple of years now, particularly the last year or so, that the studios are killing themselves. They may not realize it. I mean, they should be smart enough to realize it. And they're cannibalizing themselves. All you're doing when you rush a title out onto home video, all you're doing is conditioning the average consumer that, don't worry about going to see the movie in theater where you make your real money. That's still where they make their real money, is still in theaters. That's where the real money is made. Listen to how Matt Damon describes it when he did his Hot Ones interview. You are just been conditioning, and it's not just Disney. Disney's not even the worst. Actually, Disney does it better than most in holding their movies for longer theatrical runs, to be honest. But it's the entire industry. They keep rushing faster and faster and faster, getting the movies out onto home video. And what they're doing is they are training the audience to not worry about going to see it in theaters. It's like literally, it won't be out on home video. Fantastic Four will not be out on home video in 3 weeks. But there are going to be many people who think maybe it will be because so many other studios rush their movies onto home video so fucking fast. And it's killing the movie industry.
And it's like, man, I'd just much rather see it in a theater personally.
Yeah. So listen, am I going to say that's the reason that Fantastic Four took a 67% drop in a second weekend? No. But is it one of the reasons? Yes. 100% yes. There are other factors too, but that is definitely one of them, no doubt. All right, what's next?
We got Magnets Aren't Real says, John, given the variables in comparing box office across eras, what does the comparison actually tell us? It doesn't reflect their profit, their ability to attract viewers, place in the zeitgeist, etc. What does it show? What's the point of any comparison?
You know, it's the same conversation that gets brought up with like athletes or sports teams from different eras. Like how can you compare, you know, Wilt Chamberlain to what Shaquille O'Neal did? They played in two different eras with two different leagues. I mean, I'm not trying to bring it. I'm just saying that's the type of debate that happens all the time. How can you compare Babe Ruth to Shohei Ohtani, or how can you, you know, whatever. That's why since my movie blog days, we're going back 15 plus years, I have consistently said for 15 plus years that the only true thing you can do is just take the numbers at face value. That's all you can do. I know there are people out there who think they make themselves sound smart when you go, well, when you take into inflation, that's idiotic. Because you're ignoring other more important forces and variables. It kind of makes the comparison irrelevant. It does. That's why in sports, like when a guy breaks a certain Michael Jordan record, it's not, the league is different today. It's not worth bringing up every time some record gets broken. Well, does that mean this person's better than that person? We're not necessarily saying that. We just said the record got broken. Mm-hmm. That's all. The new Fantastic Four movie has made more money than any other Fantastic Four movie ever has. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better. That doesn't mean this. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. All it means is that it broke a record. And other than that, like the comparisons are just really too difficult. All right, what's next?
We got Apocalypse Eventually. John, is Fantastic Four's second week drop a rain shadow effect from Superman? Fans went and saw both on the first weekends, but for casuals, are just a night at the movies, and they did that a few weeks ago when they saw Superman, so less interest in seeing a movie now.
Maybe. See, I think part of the reason, because it had a good opening weekend, Fantastic Four, 117, had a good opening weekend. And I think that's partly due to Superman, because Superman, people went to see Superman, they really enjoyed it, so they wanted to go back to see another superhero film. Then maybe were they superheroed out and didn't want to go for a third weekend in a row to go see Fantastic Four? I mean, I honestly don't know. The real big thing, again, we've talked about other things. The more casual fans are getting trained by the studios idiotically. The studios are acting like idiots, rushing films onto home video, which is just cannibalizing their own business and hurting themselves and destroying the industry. And well done, you losers. That's part of it. But it's still confusing to me because it's not like when you look at the critic reviews and the audience scores of Fantastic Four, they're very high, like exceptionally high. So you'd think there would be more repeat business, but I don't know. Maybe people just saw Superman 3 weeks in a row and they went to go see Fantastic Four, but they didn't feel like going to see a superhero film for a fifth week in a row. I mean, I really don't know. It's a really good question, but I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, part one, hi, John, regarding yesterday's discussion on box office revenue and the inflation argument everyone makes. I think one of the biggest factors is how movies in the past had much longer times in theaters and then much longer wait times until it was available at home media. In Australia, it was typically 6 to 9 months. Also, the average home theater setup is much better these days at home, making it less attractive to go to the theater for the average person.
Well, again, we talked about this in the segment, but again, the one that everybody always brings up, Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind has made $4.5 billion when you take inflation into account. Nobody believes if you released that movie today, it would make $4.5 billion. So that's just stupid. But when it came out, it could have a 700-day window. Over 2 years. When it came out, less than 1%, or right around 1% of American households had a television. It's just preposterous to think that you can compare it and just adjust the dollar value by inflation and think, there, now we have a comparison. Idiotic. It's absolutely ridiculous. Gone with the Wind, released today. I mean, I saw some people in live chat saying, John, 200 million at best. I'll be generous. At best, if all the strings got plucked in the right order, Gone with the Wind makes $600 million. At best. And I might be wrong. Other people saying, John, 200 million at best. Maybe that's the case. But like, there's no way. So what's the point in bringing up that $4.5 billion by the counter for inflation? It's just ridiculous. Anyway, what's next?
Owen White says, hey, John, first time tipping, viewer since 2017.
Thank you, man.
I'm not into fan casting, but I just thought one for Prime Video's God of War adaptation, and that's Olafur Darri Olafsson. He's Mr. Drummond in Severance, the big guy with the beard. As Thor, won't see him till season 2, but thoughts?
Nah, I don't see him as, I think you need a bigger guy, and I think you need a big, because that Thor is like muscular and overweight. Like he's Lebowski Thor from Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
That's who you want. You want somebody who's got that Lebowski Thor from Endgame. So yeah, I don't know if I could see him, but I mean, listen, Stranger Things, if Ronald D. Moore has a vision for it, maybe he could make that work.
Mm-hmm. All
right, what's next?
Javier just brings up the Chris Stuckman trailer. We already addressed that, though. Conflicted in Canada. That's why I'm skipping this one. Anonymous. Hi, John. Why did you say the Thunderbolts' main characters were rejects from Disney+? Bucky, Yelena, Red Guardian, Miss DeFonte, and Ghost were all in movies first. There's only one who's appeared on Disney+. Well, Bucky as well. I'd also say outside of Bucky and U.S. Agent, none of the people who were in Disney Plus shows had significant enough roles in said shows for the appearance to be a big part of their story arcs. If I'm misunderstanding your point, my bad.
Well, that's why for the longest time I've said they've been secondhand.
That is the
or
point.
Third level characters from movies or rejects from the Disney Plus shows. I've said that forever. I mean, maybe on one show instead of saying the full thing, I just said the Disney Plus thing, but I've said forever. These are C-level characters from other people's movies that nobody cared about, or throwaway or reject characters from Disney Plus shows. I mean, that's what they were. Ghost is an afterthought. Freaking Taskmaster was an unpopular, unliked, smallly used thing from a direct to Disney Plus day and date Black Widow movie. John, a U.S. Agent, was straight from a Disney Plus show. I mean, it's just, that's what Yelena was. I mean, her real appearance was again in a straight to Disney Plus movie, a day and date Disney Plus release movie with Black Widow. And then she was in the Disney Plus show Hawkeye. I mean, that's what I meant by it. These are all like, nobody cared about these characters. And then you brought them together and you made something, and they made an amazing movie. I love it. I love this movie. Red Guardian is my jam, but yeah, that's exactly what I meant by that. All right. What's next?
We got Mystical Mike Nesmith. Hi, John. Bob Odenkirk is the newest guest on Alan Alda's podcast, Clear and Vivid.
Oh, I still haven't checked out Alan Alda's podcast. I definitely need to, but having him on it sounds great. By the way, I can't wait for Nobody 2. By the way, let me just, speaking of Nobody 2, let me see if this is actually here. Hold on a second. All right, let me just get the email addresses out of the way. I got this today. Oh, there it is. Now,
it's at the Grove. Interesting.
Yeah, it's at the Grove. They still do a lot of screenings at the Grove.
I didn't know that.
I, of course, do. You can take that down now. Yeah. I, of course, do not accept invitations to go to press screenings. I don't accept invitations to do anything press related. I haven't for a couple of years now. So I won't be going to see it. But every once in a while, one of these invitations come in that I go, oh, do I make an exception for this one? Because I love the first Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. I love the first one. So I'm like looking at this invitation that came in today, and I get these every day, but I was looking at this one that came in this morning. I'm like, maybe I go to this one, but no, I'm not. I do not go to any, I don't accept any press stuff. I don't accept any press shipments. I don't expect any press junkets. I don't accept any press interviews. I don't accept any press screenings. I don't go to any of them, but this would be one of those every once in a while, Jonathan, one comes up that gets me a little bit tempted. This is one that would tempt me, but I'm not going to do it. All right, what's next?
Wade says, considering we're exactly 1 month away from its release, have you checked out the trailer for The Conjuring Last Rites? It happens to be my second most anticipated film of the year. Love true stories based on the paranormal. Well, true stories.
Yeah, that's a loose term. I'm not a big fan of the universe, to be honest with you. The trailer does look good, though. The trailer does look good. And there have been one or two in the series that I've quite liked. But I would be lying if I said I was really excited about it. I'm definitely going to check it out, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm like counting down the days till it comes out. But the trailer looks pretty solid. We'll see how it turns out. All right, what's next?
We got Blake, who says, after some reflection, time on Superman and Fantastic Four, which is the better movie. I think both are great. For me, F4 may have had fewer mistakes, but Superman had higher highs and had more to say. I'll say Superman, although the fans are the real winners here.
Yeah, it's funny. Ann and I were both, I need to marinate on both of them for a while, but Ann and I were just talking about this last night, about which do we prefer. I think if I had to give an answer right now, I'd say I lean towards Superman, but that might be just because I've seen Superman more and I've been able to have it in my head longer. Anne leans towards Fantastic Four. She loves Superman, but she really loves Fantastic Four. So she's leaning towards Fantastic Four. I need a few more weeks, maybe even a month or two to really figure that out. All right, what's next?
We got, first off, some support from Anonymous. And then Greg Robinson says, did you see that Audible's having a full cast production of the Harry Potter books, with the first book coming out in November? Not a movie topic, but still think it's pretty cool. We could cover that.
Yeah, actually, let me see if I can find this. A friend of mine sent me something this morning to see if I can find it here. Yeah, let's bring this up. So, Audible's Harry Potter series unveils premiere dates and casts Hugh Laurie as Dumbledore, Matthew McFadden from Succession as Voldemort, Riz Ahmed as Snape, and more. So yeah, they're going all out, putting this audio drama together of the books, all building up, of course, to the new series coming out. I don't think the series launches till 2027, right? Probably, they're filming now, but it's the series. Season 1 isn't coming out till 2027. Yeah, that's a very talented cast, man. That is a really talented. Who do they say McFadden is playing? Matthew McFadden. Oh, it's Voldemort. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, very cool thing they're doing there. All right, what's next?
Here's our last one from Anonymous. Can we subject John to watching more god-awful movies at our expense? Hearing him trash talk so passionately is hilarious. We need a John watched it so you don't have to segment at least once a month. Don't stop being you, John. Love the personality.
Oh, geez. And the thing that really kills me is that I truly do. I love Ice Cube. He's I've been very lucky. Because I hear some jaded journalists talk about, all the Hollywood celebrities and men are jerks. But I'd say 70% of all these people I've gotten to meet and spend time with and talk to have usually been very positive, really positive. But then every once in a while, some really stick out to me. Like Milo Ventimiglia, one of the best guys. He's just absolutely one. Chris Pratt, who I've had several occasions to get together and sit down and talk with him. And he came and hung out at our office for an entire day once. Truly one of the best people I've ever met from the business. But the afternoon I got to spend with Ice Cube is right up there too. I mean, he was just so generous. He was so fun just to be around. He was wanted me and Dennis was with me at the time, me and Dennis to both really enjoy our time, and he was going out of his way. And it's just all that is to say that I really wanted to like War of the Worlds because it's Ice Cube. I really wanted to like it, but it's just absolutely terrible. And all right, guys, That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you come back tomorrow to watch the next installment of the John Campea Show. We'll look forward to seeing you then. A big thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett, to, of course, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.